Okay, so 3 years ago I became obsessed with, I guess you can say, a bit of a crazy idea that heroism is the origin of all life. There were 3 things that I came across that led me to this thought. The first thing was the Banality of Heroism paper published by Zeno Franco and Phil Zimbardo in the Greater Good magazine 2006. This was such a simple yet such a radical idea that every single one of us can be an everyday hero. The second one was the report of a finding of a specific gene. This was a gene found in motor neuron disease sufferers, and the British scientist that found that gene, which helps them survive longer, was interesting enough called a hero gene. The third was a theory by a famous biologist, Edward Wilson, the unity of knowledge. So Edward Wilson talks about the fact that all knowledge can be united, that the humanities and the sciences, no matter how far apart they are, they can actually be integrated, and that this can actually lead to solving the world's most pressing problems. Apart from this, Edward Wilson also talks about the idea of epigenetic rules. Now, these are certain core human behaviours that are so deeply embedded in our evolution that they can really be felt in both our biology and our culture. So, could heroism be an epigenetic rule, given how timeless it is in human nature? If this is true, this means that heroism is a fundamental aspect of survival, not only as a core human behaviour, but it's the catalyst for the evolution of all organisms on this planet. I mean this in a very real sense that there's something inside us in our biology, the way that we're genetically wired, that predisposes us inherently to heroic action, and that the environment can actually impede or help this. So in a very real sense, heroism is in our very blood. There's a revolution happening at this moment in time in both the study of heroism and research more broadly. Researchers are discovering that human nature is far more complex and dynamic than we ever thought possible. So this means that the solution to a single problem lies in looking at multiple perspectives at the same time. At the same time, researchers are discovering that the study of human strengths is probably a much more effective way of solving problems, rather than looking at human weaknesses, because traditionally for decades we've been looking at disease and evil. So heroism is an inherently transdisciplinary phenomenon. This means that to really understand this complexity, we have to draw on multiple fields of knowledge at the same time, from psychology to philosophy, archaeology, politics, biology, systems theory, the list is endless. And this inherent transdisciplinarity of heroism means something very important, that studying heroism could be the key to solving the world's most pressing problems. There's also a very important movement happening at this point in time, and obviously heroism has been around since the dawn of humanity, but there's something very unique about this historical period. The past decade has spelled an absolute upsurge of research on the strengths of human behaviour, and heroism in particular. And this is led by a group of very dedicated people from around the world, and we've seen them here today. People who have discovered heroism and the value of heroism as a tool for well-being that can promote a greater cultural shift in the whole world. The broad characteristics of this emerging movement is that it's international, it's transdisciplinary, and it's pro-social. So this means that to really understand heroism, we have to live it and to feel it. We can't just intellectualize it or think or write about it. So we have to literally embody heroism in our everyday lives. And this is why the science of heroism and its empirical observation is so incredibly important moving forward. And by science, I mean the very original term of the ancient Greek word episteme, knowledge, and empirical from empiria, or experience. This is knowledge and the pursuit of knowledge in its absolute fullest sense. Knowledge that's experienced every single day and that draws on multiple fields of inquiry. So to really understand heroism, we even have to take a step further back into the origins of life itself. The primordial soup that was planet Earth was a very violent and hostile environment. So this instantly spells a fundamental connection between the hero's journey that we've heard about today and the birth of the first cell. So the heart of the hero's journey, as we've heard today, is some sort of test, a rite of passage, something fundamentally disruptive of our organism and our being. And the absolute, always the result is some sort of transformation, a deep, irreversible transformation and a gift, like Joseph Campbell said. So let's think about the very, very original molecules in the primordial soup. Somehow all these small molecules that were forming on this planet in this hostile environment found a way. Life found a way and formed the very original cell. We would not be sitting here today if it was not for the heroic journey of that original cell. Now, what does that mean? I think that means that every single part of our body, every single cell that makes up our body is a heroic body by definition and by origin. And by implication, every single organism on this planet is a hero organism. And why do I say that? Because DNA is the foundation of all life. That original cell that gave us life in its heroic journey is the foundation of every single living being on this planet. And scientists are now talking about natural intelligence and consciousness in all of us. We used to think for centuries that human beings are the only intelligent species on this planet, but that's not correct. We are part of a broader network of wonderful, intelligent minds. Scientists are discovering that even the smallest of insects, like bees, are capable of abstract thinking. So we are all part of a massive network capable of heroic leadership, and we can talk about a planetary hero organism. Now, I think this means something very important. If heroism predates us, it is actually our birthright. It is our birth mother. So, to fundamentally answer the question, what does it mean to be a hero, is to answer the question that, what does it mean to be a human being? Heroism and DNA share three very important points. They are powerful stories of greatness, they are constants in deep time, and they are deeply transformative. And you can see this transformation all around you in the diversity of life on this planet. But what is so interesting is that despite this beautiful diversity, they all manage to retain a core unchangeable structure. In biological terms, it's DNA, and in humanities terms, it's the hero's journey and its universal structure, like Joseph Campbell told us in 1949. Science itself is starting to talk in more heroic terms. A global genome project was recently launched called the Resilience Project. This is led by a team of two scientists, Stefan Friend and Eric Schad, and they are literally looking for genetic heroes. So they are looking for people around the world who have unusual resilience to debilitating diseases like cancer, cystic fibrosis, Parkinson's disease. So they carry the mutation of that disease, but for some reason they don't get sick, they don't develop symptoms. A recent study just this year found that doing good is literally in our genes. Scientists studied twins, and they found that genetics accounts for almost 50% as to whether someone is likely to be civically engaged, so help in the community. And we know that there is a very strong correlation between the capacity to show compassion, selflessness, and heroic action. Neuroplasticity, an increasingly publicised science many of you might have heard of, shows us the power of the mind, the body, and the human spirit to heroically adapt to even the most extreme pain and physical, emotional, and mental trauma. So again, this leads to a very important conclusion. I personally think that the hero's journey is a fundamentally restorative and regenerative cycle on an evolutionary scale at every single level of our existence, from the biological to the psychological to the social and to the spiritual. So the benefits of this research can be felt by many groups. Humanitarian organisations looking to create grassroots change at both a social and a policy level. It could mean an overhaul of the education system if we are to use the hero's journey more widely as a tool of well-being. Media and cultural theorists, by looking at the power of hero stories and how they can change us, and also the responsible reporting of hero stories in the media. Clinicians working with post-traumatic stress disorder sufferers, medical practitioners working with diseases that we still haven't yet solved and looking for innovative solutions, and much, much more. And there is a very real sense among us in the field doing this research that we are at the cusp of a new frontier. And I absolutely believe that this field has the potential to change the way we view the human universe, the human nature, and the universe forever. So what can we do on a practical level? I think probably the most important thing is for us to realise that each and every single one of us right here is on our own hero's journey. So this means we need to become much more alert to our mind and our body and our heart. We need to engage with the world around us more, not switch off the channel when we see some bad news. Think about how it affects us. Think about how it affects our community. Engage with stories of heroism. Be inspired by stories of ordinary individuals who achieve extraordinary things. To not be afraid to question the unquestionable and the things that we take for granted every single day. We need to talk about we rather than me. We need to think of ourselves as a human species. And I think last but not least, we need to learn to make room for pain and to be willing to be tested and feel uncomfortable, because the hero's journey is always the road not taken. So, to conclude, if heroism is wired in our blood, then every single one of us has the capacity to be a hero, or as I like to call it, a highly evolved radical organism. Thank you.
The Hero Roundtables are the global events that ask the question, what is a hero? You've just seen one hero talk. To find more and join the conversation, visit our website or social media.